You are listening to the Life and Alignment podcast, and this is your host and your coach, Naphtali Anderson. And today's episode is called True Masculinity, Redefining Strength and Purpose for Burnt Out Men. So relax your mind and enjoy the show. All right, let's just keep it real. Men do not like to be called weak, like in any way, shape, or form. Like men are supposed to be strong. That's the expectation. Like physically strong, mentally strong, emotionally. Wait, we're not supposed to have emotions, right? No, I'm just kidding, right? We're supposed to be emotionally strong too. But let's talk about what makes a strong man in this life of alignment. Right. And to do that, honestly, we have to dig into masculinity, that favorite topic of masculinity. And I'm not talking about this false masculinity where, you see paraded around, leading most men into more emptiness, really, in their lives. But let's talk about and get down to what is true masculinity, right? What is true masculinity? Honestly, it took me a while to figure out what that really is, what it truly even was. I mean, I expressed it at times, but not from a place of knowing. Okay. Then there'll be times that I just didn't express it. And honestly, I suffered the consequences of it. One of my journaling revelations will say, I wrote out that weak men don't win battles of value. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later in this podcast. But I started just digging into tons of books, studying my life, looking at where I actually used it versus the places where I didn't. Always hindsight is always 2020, right? Looking at dating tips, books, courses, whatever, watching movies, paying attention to these powerful looking, seeming people that seemed very masculine, right? And just tried to understand what is the core of it. There's always principles under everything. Okay, that's always going to be true. If you search in the different areas, there's always an underlying foundational set of principles. And what I found that there are three things, okay, that make a strong foundation for masculinity across the board. And then everything else on top of it is just, a shape of personality, unique style, and different things like that. But let me start with what is it not, right? What's not masculinity? It's not that tough guy, the one that's loud that, hey, I can beat anyone's ass, if you look at me wrong type of guy. Or even the guy that has to be all flashy. Look at me, I'm awesome, I'm the best at everything guy. It's not the guy that shows zero emotion, that never has a feeling except for maybe anger. The one that's completely hardened by life. That is not masculinity. It's not the guy that has to sleep with all the girls just to show that he's the man. All right. This is not masculinity. It's not true masculinity. So growing up, right, I could show up in my masculine energy, many different areas of my life, particularly at work and sports. But there was always one area, in all honesty, that was a challenge for me. Okay, and I'm sure it came from a lot of things when I was really young, but we won't get into that today. But the one place that was really a challenge for me was anything that had to do with like my heart. Okay, matters that came close to my heart, like a relationship, right? Or even family. I would kind of fall out of my masculine frame. I was I really never let people in growing up. I didn't let people into that space, right? Where they could potentially, right, hurt me, scar me. I kept everybody at a distance. I had tons of friends, but I kept everybody at a distance and protected myself. But when somebody got past that fence, then there was a fear that also came with them. That fear of losing them, the fear of doing the wrong thing and saying the wrong thing, that need of their acceptance and validation. And so I would usually end up messing it up somehow. I would make some kind of bad decision, or I would just lose myself so much into whatever it was, the relationship or whatever. And I would just not really be okay. And so I was just in a weak place, right? That weak men don't win those battles of value. I was in a weak space, but that really brings us to our first point, our first pillar of what makes a man truly masculine. And the first thing that he has to have, first thing is that he needs to know who he is, right? In a space where he has nothing to prove to anyone. You can love him, you can hate him. He's fine either way. He doesn't pretend for anybody, right? He has a quiet confidence. He values himself. He lives true to who he is. He has standards and core values that drive him in his decisions. This is the first pillar, and honestly, the most important one. The second one is he knows what he wants. He's clear on really what he wants in life. And it's not based on what he thinks that he should want or what people tell him that he should want. Okay. It's not based on any other person's opinion, but he is true to himself and he knows what he wants and what's important to him. He's true to his heart's desires. And the last part, the third pillar, really, he takes action towards getting what he wants and living as who he is, right? He's works towards a purpose with commitment and conviction. And he lives and moves towards his purpose every single day. And that's what drives him. He doesn't let anything really take him off his path, distract him from his goal, distract him from his purpose, his mission, his bigger vision of life. So the man that can master all three of these can show up with emotion, even cry. But because he is unapologetic for who he is, he actually stays in that masculine frame. Okay, while another man can maybe not even show any emotion, but he doesn't show emotion because of that fear of judgment. So he loses some of his masculine power. He loses some of that energy because he's giving his power to all the people that he's afraid that will judge him. But for fun, all right, for fun, let's just make some comparisons. I like action movies. I like comics. And so let's talk about Batman. Batman gives, in my opinion, right, a more masculine vibe than Superman. Why? Because Superman is always worried about what people think. And I bet if you really thought about it, you probably would agree. And if you don't, definitely reach out and let me know. So, like Iron Man and Thanos, right? Good guy, bad guy, but both very strong masculine foundation. They know exactly who they are and they don't change for anybody. They know exactly what they want and why. And they move with conviction and nobody and nothing takes them from their path. And that's why even though Thanos is destroying half of the universe and making everything disappear, there's still kind of a respect for the guy. And even though Iron Man can be extremely cocky, that's just how he likes to be. He's not doing it from a place of insecurity. So you still kind of want to honor him. But we get confused, right? We get confused by all these outside things. We see these movies, we think of action movie heroes and stuff. And if you think of any hero, I bet you that they hit these three pillars. But the thing that we get confused about is really we see the muscles, we see the fighting style, we see the girls, right? You think of James Bond, knows who he is, knows what he wants, and he moves on purpose, right? For a long time, he was the essence of masculinity. Everything else above that is just extra. So when we look at all the things that he gets because he's masculine, we think that that is what makes the man masculine, but it's not really that. It's the essence of who he's being. We forget to look at the inner man that drives all of it. Okay. And these pillars are in the order that they're in for a reason. You have to know who you are first, because if you don't know who you are, then you can't truly know what you want. And obviously, if you don't know what you want, you can't take positive, convicted action towards it. But in the world today, honestly, most men don't truly know who they are. It took me a long time to figure out exactly who I am. Okay, we know titles, we know status, but we don't truly know who we are when we look in the mirror and strip all that away, strip down all the titles, strip down all the status, strip down anything else that is outside of us, and look at ourselves in the mirror and say, do I know who you are? Do I know who I am? And most men don't. They don't even know what they want. They know what they're supposed to want. They know what the world tells them that they should want. But they don't truly know what they want. If they could have absolutely anything. A lot of them know what they don't want. But that also actually doesn't really take them closer to having what they want. So we end up taking a bunch of action and doing a bunch of things and maybe getting a bunch of trophies, but all these things, though they may show as fruit, end up meaningless to them. And this will lead to that feeling of burnt out. Okay, burnt out physically, burnt out mentally, burnt out emotionally every single time, because you are at war with yourself inside, because you're not living as you. You're pretending every single day. It's like showing up on a movie scene every single day, pretending to be somebody that you're not. It exhausts you, your spirit. And this is why weak men don't win battles of value. And when I say weak, you can understand, I mean a man that's not living true to his masculine self. A man that doesn't know who he is, that does not know what he wants, and is not convicted and committed to taking action. There's no way that you can win any type of battle that truly has value in your life. And I had to learn this the hard way, because there's things that meant so much to me that I lost because I didn't know what I wanted. And I was not convicted enough to go after anything. So I lost it. But this is the thing. The awesome part about all this is that I actually want to take 5 men in my new inner chamber mastery program, right? That right now it's in beta form, right? And so it's at a highly discounted price. But this is a coaching program that I'm going to be taking 5 guys through. It's going to be very in depth. And I'm going to be working with men to take them from that place of burnout, of high stress, of feeling undervalued, for feeling unappreciated, not respected, not accepted, to that place where they can feel powerful, okay, to have that inner peace and live with purpose and connection every day, to create that space from the inside out, to build that foundation of knowing who exactly they are, what they want in their life, and the conviction to go after it and get it. So I'm still putting the application together, but if you're interested, email me at tali@revolutionizelife.com. Okay, tali@revolutionizelife.com. The email will also be in the podcast description. But until next time, this is Naphtali signing off and saying, be blessed, my brothers.